Imagine the admiration and accolades mankind will bestow upon me. You left me to die, and yet you're here. It was ego! I had no idea how hideously deformed I was.
Frankenstein has really never lost its appeal to the masses. It's a story that resonates with people on multiple levels, but the essential impact of Frankenstein is its exploration of what it is like to be other. And that other can be expressed in many different ways. It could be physical difference, it could be racial difference, it could be economic or social status difference, gay, straight, old, young. There are so many ways that that sense of otherness can be interpreted. And I think every single human being on this planet in some way has a connection to the story of Frankenstein because of feeling different.
Like me, for me. You may torture me. I will never consent. My request is reasonable. It's obscene. And the gratification small, but it shall content me. Am I not shunned and hated by all mankind?
The thought that is most interesting to me about the way that Mary Shelley's novel has been turned into so many different forms. I mean, it's been films, it's been Muppet movies, it's been breakfast cereal, it's been all of these things. There's something iconographic about this character, the creature that she invented, and our adaptation is actually closer to the novel than almost all the adaptations that I've seen.
The film productions have focused on the monster aspect of Frankenstein's creature. And when you go back to Mary Shelley's original, he's a very complicated entity. He's got a lot of empathy, he's very sensitive, he's very intelligent.
The vulnerability of the creature and how he is born, a blank slate and an open heart and an open mind. I think pretty much everybody gets that in every movie version that we've ever seen.
You know, we go back to the Frankenstein from the 1930s, and he doesn't speak, he just grunts, which really is a disservice to the story.
We see the suffering of the creature in most of these versions, but we don't see what the suffering does in a really clear psychological way. And we have taken the point of view of the creature, which is what the novel does also. So you really track and you really follow what it is that's happening to the creature, why he changes his being, and why the sufferer creates suffering.
It's much more about how an innocent being who is a clean slate and comes into the world that way can be influenced by the people around him, by the environment that he's raised in, and it really can change the path of one's life.
What's interesting about the creature in this adaptation of the piece is that you track him from birth, literally from birth, as a being who has no ability to do anything but feel and sense. And he learns, he's actually brilliant. You know, that's the thing that's so different from the other icons that you've seen, is he appears to be, you know, not an intelligent being, but sort of a buffoon. But the creature, in truth, is brilliant, and he figures out all aspects of life in such a short period of time. He figures out movement, he figures out speech, he figures out the written word.
Solitude will be my only consolation now. Deep, dark, death-like solitude.
And by the last half of the show, he is an exquisitely articulate human being who has a deep sense of what it is to be human, and therefore the tragedy is expanded because he knows the wrong that has been done to him, and he knows the wrong he is capable of himself. I had been searching for the perfect project for a couple of reasons. One was to call attention to this beautiful building so that we could get the flywheel of development going on this building so that it could be enjoyed by more people, by anybody, could be enjoyed in general. And then the other thing was, I was searching for exactly the right material to present in this building that speaks to the challenges that we face now as a people. And I was talking about this with Lindel.
But we had no idea what that project would be. And so we spent the better part of, 8 or 9 months thinking of plays, thinking of stories that appealed to us. One day I got a message from her saying, "I have it. It's Frankenstein, and I want you to play the creature."
It was the novel that I reread. I hadn't read it in about 30 years, and I reread it, and I just thought, this is the perfect thing.
And she sent me a link to a script that had been created for the National Theatre in London. And I read it, and I thought it was really good, and she said, "I want to try to get the rights to that, and let's do it." They denied giving her the rights, probably because they were sending out a film version of their stage production into movie theaters. And we were kind of bummed that we couldn't do it. And then I said, Linda, that story's in the public domain. And so we could create our own version of it. And she immediately said, "If you write it and agree to be the creature, I will produce and direct." And that was the genesis of our collaboration. And we spent the next year developing our ideas. I started writing the text and adapting Mary Shelley's novel into a performance text. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, we really loved the story, and we felt like it was a good fit for us as a first project. And she knew that she wanted to create this production in the First National Bank building here in Greenfield, because it's an amazing space. It's a raw space just waiting to be tapped.
I wanted to commission a piece specifically for this building that would highlight the building so that it could be a star of the show. And that was the other piece. When I read through the Frankenstein novel, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein again, I thought, that's out of the park. This is perfect, because the crazy Gothic nature of the building and the beautiful ruin of it all is just perfect.
I mean, in some ways, I couldn't imagine a better environment to do this in. It is so beat and crumbling. It just feels like an old laboratory where things have been cobbled together, and maybe he's hidden himself away into some spot where nobody can find him, and there's the blood and the bones and the crypts that Dr. Frankenstein's been crawling around in to get body parts, and you can almost see them on the walls still in this place.
It's kind of eerie. It's been vacant for over 40 years, and so there's a lot of, I think there are a lot of ghosts in the space in a sense. And so it really was perfect for creating this sense of wonder and horror that is there in Frankenstein. And I don't think we could have created a better set than what we have here.
The other side of it is that it's a little bit challenging, a lot of dust, a lot of uneven surfaces, things slip off the walls now and then. We had the whole thing staged using a part of the hall that we then had to cut because it was condemned by the building inspector for the use of the actors. And so, it's not the most secure space in the world. It certainly is atmospheric.
So I had this idea that a video design wrapped around the huge walls of this amazing building would frame the story, even though we're telling it through the words and ideas of Mary Shelley, would frame it in the now. And just magically, I met this guy while I was on tour in Eastern Europe this year, a guy named Florian Canga, who is a world-class video and sound designer. And I told him my idea, and we just hit it off like wildfire.
We have this special occasion that we are not in this standard stage for theater, but we are in a space where the audience is inside the stage.
What he has created, I think, really will place the story in a forward-thinking way, because it's postmodern, it's postmodern, it's so cutting edge.
We are in a perfect place where we can experiment. That's a huge possibility, because theater has no shapes in the sense of how to do the theater. It shouldn't be only on traditional theaters of 300 years ago. Also, we can use any kind of space to create theater, and we can use technology to help us that these theater pieces and these warehouses or these spaces can be transformed in very perfect art spaces. We need to create a kind of storytelling through the imagery, not to create a backup for the actor, but to create a semiotic use of image. If the actor tells the story through his words, we use our symbols and our metaphor of the image to say these words. That was very crucial, so the actor can create a relationship with the image. Also the content, also the texture, also the colors, everything can be very related with the place when you do theater. So we have the possibility to surround the audience using imagery and sound.
All of these amazing animations that sort of cradle and cushion the story. So I think that audiences are going to respond really warmly to the way this video design wraps around. It's a wraparound of the whole story.
Different art forms can be included in the theater. Theater is not only the property of the actors and directors and stage designers, but also of video designers, sound designers, even of programmers, computer programmers. Basically anyone can give his artwork to the theater. And also it's a cheap way to transform any public space in art space, something that we did it very often in our country.
We are so grateful that we get to have 70 people in fixed seating for an hour and a half, and finally we're going to really see what we can do with this beautiful building that's just waiting to be filled with life.
Thousands crowd around me and threaten to throw me into the abyss. I cannot live in this world of misery. Once I could not consent to the death of any human being, but this creature of mine is not fit to remain in human society.
We decided to have just one actor play all of the other characters. So Court Dorsey plays Elizabeth, he plays William, he plays Mr. de Lacey, who is the old blind man.
I think I should teach you how to write. I still remember the shapes of the letters and how to make them.
It was apparent early on to both Linda and to me that we needed to have this be a piece that is really tight, really compact, and so I wanted to have all of those four characters portrayed by the same actor. It's kind of a tall order because you're playing a 26, 28-year-old young man, you're playing his fiancée who's about the same age, the 8-year-old boy, and you're playing an 80-year-old man.
My name is William Frankenstein.
Frankenstein? Are you related to Victor Frankenstein?
He's my brother. He's a scientist.
Yes, I know. Come, let us play some more. I will hide this time, and you try to find me. Cover your eyes and count to 10. And remember, no peeking.
And it's all through acting. There's just a touch of a costume shift, but really all of it is through character and performance.
Where is your brother? Why? What do you want from me? He is my enemy and a fiend. He's not a fiend, he desires it. He gave me these scars. I have sworn eternal revenge upon Victor Frankenstein, and you shall be my first victim! I deferred mine till the day we could be wed. Today, yes.
And he has once again abandoned you as he abandoned me.
What is your passion?
At first, it was learning to speak, to read, to write. They inform not only who the creature is, but how he develops. They inform Frankenstein and how he is in the world. So it's a pretty broad range, but it's an actor's dream to be able to play such a range of roles, such different characters. It really is not something that I think just anyone can tackle, but we were glad that Court was available to work, to develop this work in that way.
It's a little challenging. It's hard to both have some distinction between the characters and at the same time not have them become too technical. There's always tricks or things that as an actor you can hang a character on for a quick change, but if you get stuck there, it doesn't ring true.
This is madness!
But there's also, for me, I enjoy the fact that since these are all played by one actor, there's a way in which they all are part of the same thing. Just like, you know, we are all parts of the same creation, the same ecology, the same world, the same being of life. In some sense, we're all different apples on the big tree, if you want to put it that way.
What if this new creature turns out to be 10,000 more malignant than her mate? What if she hates him and casts him aside? Worse yet, they might propagate a new species of demon. I cannot sacrifice the whole human race just to assuage my own guilt.
And it's interesting because I'm always aware that it's one actor that I'm working with, but when he transforms into Lacey, physically, vocally, it's like being with an old man. And when he is Elizabeth, it's a young woman. And so it affects the way the creature interacts with all of those characters.
Of his domestic affections, Caesar would have spared his country. America would have been discovered more gradually, and the empires of Mexico and Peru would not have been destroyed.
And then there's one other performer on stage, and that's Mary Shelley. And it's through Mary Shelley's eyes that we see the entire show. She frames everything and responds to things and sometimes furthers the action. And that role is played by Jane Williams, who's really very beautiful in the role.
In order to animate lifeless clay, my soul is surely condemned to hell for desecrating the remains of the innocent, stealing bones and flesh and organs and fluids and desecrating with profane fingers the tremendous secrets of the human frame. I locked myself away in my workshop of filthy creation and fashioned them all into this.
Frankenstein, in its original setting, 200 years ago when Mary Shelley wrote it, appealed to people because the Industrial Revolution was at its apex.
Mary Shelley, at the age of 19, created this character and created this story in reflection of the Industrial Revolution.
People were fascinated with science and technology and how that impacts humans.
We were, as a species, convinced that reason and control of the environment were going to bring us everything that we needed to be happy. And Mary Shelley, with her prescience, saw the flaws in that and saw the dangers in that.
And the scientific revolution that was going on with electricity and factories and urban blight and all kinds of things were happening to the planet. And she had no idea what was going to happen to the planet.
It's the same appeal. We are still in the throes of how science is affecting our world, how technology is affecting our world, how we're impacting the planet with our decisions. What monsters have we created? And it's not just, piecing together body parts into a Frankenstein monster. We've created so many other potential monsters that we have to be really careful.
And when you read her story now and you think how right she was, you can't help but be shocked into shifting consciousness about how we've got to change our story and we've got to take this cautionary tale to heart.
So it's just as relevant now because of all of those developments since Mary Shelley's day. And we could continue to explore this for decades and maybe centuries to come.
Frankenstein is a man who wants to distinguish himself among men. And there's a sense of ego in that. There's a sense of thought. There's a sense of I can master the universe. I can master myself. I will put my stamp upon the world. And that creates a kind of self-glorification that is monstrous, whether it's within a person or whether it's within a culture or whether it's within science itself. It creates a monstrosity that forgets that it's part of nature and forgets that it's part of something larger. And we all know this, and we all sense it, and we all fear it. And this story touches it.